popping perks, popping mollies, and putting powder in your nostrils. We be in the trenches, needles under benches, we be giving them the gospel. I keep 12 Sakari members with me, we be moving like apostles. True, some sisters is dead traps, hair wraps, but you still a doctor. The church don't even know the truth, they can even tell you an Israelite. They're selling you all the switches and the malt liquor or the Ishmaelite. You can show a nigga slave ships in the Bible, still won't get it right. Until the time's out, then a nigga gotta find out what them missiles like.
All right, y'all. All praises to the Most High. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh. And we do so by Shema Mashiach Yahweh Shai. As you guys can see, nice piano. I just got off of piano lessons. Just got off piano lessons over there. Got the fireplace going. You know what I'm saying? Well, it's off right now, but, you know, got my fireplace going. Just got done with piano lessons. You know what I'm saying? So I had to prepare myself for this class. I've been deeply in prayer. And first and foremost, I want to say peace and blessings. Shalom, shalom, shalom to the saints, to the so-called Negro, Latino, Native American man, the true Israelites according to the Bible. Oh, man, peace and blessings to the brothers and sisters in the chat. Been in heavy prayer about this lesson. The Most High finally put it on my spirit, put a fire under my ass, and made me get it done. And I believe that we're probably going to make a book about this topic based on the outline of this video. So all praises to the Most High for that. You might say, why the hell does it even matter? Why does it matter if the New Testament was written in Hebrew? Why does it matter if it's in Greek? You might be asking those questions. Well, the Bible says, don't be ignorant of anything, whether a great matter or a small matter, for one. And for two, it's the most important thing in the world for a Christian and a Hebrew Israelite. Why? Because the proof that we're going to show today, showing that the New Testament was written in Hebrew and translated into Greek, you have to ask yourself why. And the reason why, which we have modern day scholarship and scholarship from antiquity, everything that we're going to present today is actual and factual. And we have the proof showing that they were trying to appeal to the surrounding pagans to further Christianity, which is why when you read the Greek, you see the Greek God. When you read the Greek Bible, the New Testament, the Greek translation, you see the Greek god Hades in there. You see the Greek god Cupid in there. You see the Greek god Nike in there. You see Phosphorus, who was also known as Lucifer, in there. You see Tartarus in there, another Greek god. So they had to translate our scriptures, our Hebrew scriptures, into Greek in order to mix this truth with Greek mythology and paganism. Not only did they mix Greek mythology with the truth, but they also added what? Easter, Christmas, virgin birth. All of these things made the Gentile nations, the pagans surrounding the Levant, it was appealed to them and made them more readily to accept who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. This is a fact. I'm gonna show you guys. So this lesson isn't for the girls with the sisters with the pretty thumbnails. This isn't for the brothers with the thumbnail with the biggest beard who want to look good in the chat. This is for brothers and sisters who actually care about being a Hebrew Israelite. You should know your history if you're a Hebrew Israelite. You should be able to prove these things if you're a Hebrew Israelite, right? So that's why it's so important to prove that Christianity is a pagan religion. And they translated the Hebrew into the Greek to further Christianity, mixing it, permeating it with pagan customs such as Greek mythology and other heathen customs. So let's prove that. What we're going to do is this. Yeah, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. We're going to do this like this, right? I have an outline that I'm going to pull up. I have an outline that I'm going to pull up. And we're going to do it in this order, y'all. We're going to do it in this order. We're going to talk about the archaeological evidence, because their argument is that the Hebrew language had died out during the first century, during the New Testament period. That's one of their arguments, that Hebrew had died out, and you had to be highly educated to speak Hebrew. We're going to debunk that with archaeological evidence. We're also going to prove archaeological evidence that the New Testament was written in Hebrew. We're going to go to historical evidence, things that people have said that the New Testament was written in Hebrew, and also the Israelites were speaking Hebrew by and large as the dominant language during the first century. We have historical evidence for that. Then the best part that you guys are going to like is the textual evidence. The textual evidence is what's in the Bible. How does the New Testament prove that it was written in Hebrew? We're going to go to where Peter actually calls Jesus Christ, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Peter calls him in 2 Peter 1:19. He says, until, in the Greek, it says phosphorus. Phosphorus, until phosphorus rise in your heart. The equivalent to phosphorus is Lucifer. And Lucifer, contrary to popular belief, was a Greek god before it was applied to Satan, the devil, in the 3rd century. All right, let me say that again. Phosphorus in Greek is the same word in Latin for Lucifer, which is a Greek god. Before Lucifer became known as Satan and the devil, it was the Greek god Phosphorus or Lucifer. All right. So 300 years after Christ is when they started applying Lucifer to Satan, the devil. Why would Peter be calling him that? This is what I'm saying. They're mixing Greek mythology so that the pagans in the surrounding, and this wasn't Peter, this was the translators. They wanted to translate the Hebrew into Greek to make the heathen Gentile pagans more accepting to what they would call the gospel or Christianity. All right. So we're going to get into all that, y'all. Buckle up, and then we're going to go into the conclusion of why they translated from Hebrew to Greek, which I already gave a brief synopsis on already. All right. So without further ado, y'all, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. All right, let's get into it. Let me share my screen here. All right, so we're just going to go off these notes, but I got all these hyperlinks, and we're just going to go in the spirit, all right? So first and foremost, this is not to be confused with Aramaic primacy. For all you scholars out there, because I know there's going to be some Hebrew scholars, Christian scholars, there may be some atheists who watch this broadcast. I am not speaking about Aramaic primacy. What does Aramaic primacy mean? After this, y'all gonna know. After this lesson, y'all all gonna be scholars in this chat. Aramaic primacy is the ideology that the New Testament was predominantly written in Aramaic. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. But this is not a new thing. This is not a new thing. I'm not the only one. I'm not the first person in the world to say that the New Testament was written in Hebrew. Okay? But this is like a first major presentation from the Hebrew Israelite community dealing with the New Testament being written in Hebrew. Yes, I've heard the elders allude to it. Yes, we've alluded to it, but actually going into it and proving it, this would be that I've seen, this would be the first presentation from the Hebrew Israelite community proving the New Testament was written in Hebrew predominantly. If I had to put a statistic, if I had to put a percentage on it, I would say 85% Hebrew, 10% Aramaic, and 5% Greek. That's what I would give for a percentage, right? But this is not Aramaic primacy. All of you damn scholars out here who try to act like Hebrew was dead and Aramaic was the dominant language and the common language in the first century, you're a liar, and we're going to prove that. Aramaic is a dialect of Hebrew that came around about 900 BC. Were we familiar with it? Yes. Did we use some of it in our vernacular? Yes. But by and large, we're speaking from the time Hebrew language, we became the Hebrew people till 70 AD and even 135 AD with the Bar Kokhba revolt. We were speaking, I'm saying including Paul. So, excuse me, predominantly Hebrew with a little of Aramaic. So this is not Aramaic primacy. Let's read about Aramaic primacy. I want to get that clear. We're not saying it was predominantly written in Aramaic. We're saying it was predominantly written in Hebrew. Two different dialects. Aramaic came around about 900 BC. Dang, excuse me. All right, now, this is Aramaic primacy. Look at this. Aramaic primacy of the New Testament from TorahApologetics.com. All this is doing is explaining what Aramaic primacy is. Anybody can go look this up. Within the Torah observant community, it is not at all uncommon to hear someone say, well, the New Testament was originally written in Aramaic. So this is a school of thought and ideology of a lot of people in the world today, and it has been for some decades. But we're not teaching Aramaic primacy today. I want to make that clear for the people watching this channel who are familiar with textual criticism and the composition of our scriptures. No Aramaic primacy. A very small portion of the New Testament was written in Aramaic, or there are Aramaic words littered throughout the New Testament. We understand that. There's no argument there. All right, but by and large and predominantly, it was not written in Aramaic. All right, so let's go back here. I wanted to make that clear. I want to give some modern day scholarship. Because you say, look at this Negro with this fake background, living room, green screen. He wishes he could have a house this nice. He's just some poor nigga who doesn't know what he's talking about. I mean, look how he's dressed. He doesn't even look saved. That's what you clown ass Christians always say. He doesn't even look like he's saved. All right. We don't give a damn about what did God say? Don't look at the appearance, judged by the heart. And what we're bringing today is actual facts that cannot be debunked or vetted. So I want to give some modern day scholarship that will attest to the fact that the New Testament was written in Hebrew and that Hebrew was the dominant language during the New Testament time period, right? So you have something, we'll get there in a second. So let's look at the Oxford Dictionary of the Christian Church, 3rd edition in 1997. It says, Hebrew continued to be used as a spoken and written language even after the 4th century, including the New Testament period. Why are you guys such liars? Why do you got to lie and say the Hebrew language was dead? The 1st century Jews were speaking Aramaic by and large, and Greek. See, Christianity is so anti-Semitic. Christianity is so anti-Semitic, right? That not only do they say the promises to God's people are eradicated now, and it's just to the church. You know, Jews are not God's chosen people anymore. This is what Christianity teaches. Let's burn their Hebrew scriptures. Let's translate them into Greek, just like they did with the Septuagint, right? And let's say that, you know, they weren't even speaking Hebrew during the 1st century. How anti-Semitic is that? Talk about, let's keep going. So this is the companion Bible, E.W. Bellinger, Appendix 94. And it says, what was the language of ordinary life of educated native Jews in Jerusalem and Judea in the period from 400 BCE to 150 CE. Now, this is saying educated. Now, I don't agree that it was only educated Israelites speaking Hebrew, but the fact that he's saying that it was the ordinary language, it was the everyday language. That's the point. From 400 BC, meaning about 400 years before Christ, to about 150 years after Christ, right? Somebody's saying, can I zoom in? What I'll do is, because I can't zoom in on this, I'm sorry. What I'll do is I'll leave links. Again, we're gonna, Lord willing, make a book out of all this information, and we're gonna get it out to the community so we can have this. Understand? But I'll put the links to everything in the description box. That's what I'll do for now before that book comes out. So for this quote, you guys can go get this book. You should have a whole bunch of books. I know I do. This is the book, right? And this is this book. The Companion Bible Appendixes. What a tongue twister. So I'll put the link for everything in the chat so you guys can see it, right? Now look what this says. What was the language? The evidence presented by Mishnaic Hebrew and its literature leaves no doubt that the language was Mishnaic Hebrew. So I just want to get some modern day scholarship out here, because you guys might say, oh, this nigga, he thinks he knows what he's talking about. He doesn't have a white man to corroborate his statement. Well, I got the white man, so maybe you guys will believe me then. Let's continue. This is a book called The Hebrew New Testament by Dr. Briggs, PhD, Walden University, right? So look what it says. Why would Yahweh or the Most High inspired the disciples of Christ to write Yeshua's biography and teachings in a language that the Jews hated? Come on. Got the white man telling y'all this. Now do you believe it? Make sure y'all like and share this video. Listen, so he says, why would the Most High have the disciples of the Messiah write his biography and teachings in a language that the Jews hated? It's this. We're about to drop some major bombs here in a second. So it says, and that the apostles could not have known, since they were all Jewish, does not make sense, does it? Well, truth is, he did not. So we understand some of the apostles knew Greek and were maybe fluent in Greek, but we understood that that was for bartering and trading because it was the lingua franca. We'll get to that right now. Another scholar, I like this guy's videos, Jeff A. Brenner. Jeff A. Brenner. I put Brenner. Jeff Brenner. He did a whole segment on. He's authored over 20 books related to the studies of the Hebrew alphabet, the language and culture of the Bible. He's an instructor in biblical Hebrew and has taught thousands how to read the Bible in Hebrew for themselves. He did a whole presentation on the New Testament being written in Hebrew. I think this is the link right here. Yeah, this is his channel right here. So it's pretty dope. He goes all the way into it, and I've even extracted some of his talking points and added it into the topic today. Right? So now let's get into it, y'all. Let's get into it. I just wanted to drop a few some modern day scholarship to prove that, you know, the Hebrew Israelites are not the only ones. Now, a lot of Hebrew Israelites don't even know that the New Testament was written in Hebrew. Now, there's one particular camp. I'm not going to say any names. I'm not going to throw any shots. But there's one particular camp that says that ridiculed somebody I know. Sergeant Yatab, Sakari Sergeant Yatab. There's one camp that says we're the best and everybody else is just right. They didn't even know that the New Testament was written in Hebrew. So it's best to just be humble and understand that we're all learning and we're all growing and we need each other as a body. You understand? So with that being said, let's get into this, right? I'm gonna read this again. Like I said, this is just the outline. We're gonna put this in book format, Lord willing, really soon, because we gotta push this out to the community. So it says the general consensus among modern scholars is that the New Testament was written in Greek. One of the main arguments is that the oldest New Testament manuscripts we have are in Koine Greek. That's some of the main arguments that they have, everybody. Now, why am I presenting this outline like this? Because we have to deal from a Rogerian perspective. What's a Rogerian argument? I have to tell you guys what the ops are going to say. I have to tell you guys what the opposite side is going to say, their argument, because there's nobody that is here to represent their standpoint. So I got to deal with this from a Rogerian perspective. And the fact is that our ops, right? They say that the New Testament was written in Greek, because the oldest New Testament manuscript we have is in Greek, right? Now, how stupid and silly is that? I'm going to tell you why. This is a weak argument with bad logic, because the works of Josephus, let's deal with the works of Josephus, his writings. The oldest we have are in Greek. The oldest writings of Josephus we have are in Greek. But Josephus said he couldn't even write Greek and barely understand Greek. So you guys even took Josephus's Hebrew writings and translated that into Greek. Like the devil the Bible speaks of. Let's just prove that real quick. We're going to show you how that's a bad logic. Just because the oldest surviving copy is in a language doesn't mean that it was written in that original language. So when you look at Josephus, look at this. Okay, so it says it's written in the Greek language. This is what it is, right? But look what Josephus says. But he said he couldn't really speak the language. Josephus writes that it was an abomination. It was an abomination. Salakia. Josephus writes that it was an abomination for a Hebrew to write or to learn Greek. Hello? It was an abomination. This is what Josephus is saying. It was an abomination for a Hebrew to write or learn Greek. This is First Testament period. So we know that our Lord and Savior, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, he was a Hebrew. He was an ultra-nationalist, an identity extremist, and he was also a fanatic and extremist. So we understand that he was about his culture, the Hebrew culture, as well as the disciples. They were zealots of the law and the customs. So yes, it would be an abomination for a Hebrew to write or learn Greek, and that even after doing it himself for 25 years, he had not mastered it. Yes, if anybody wants some smoke after this, absolutely. I want somebody to come on here. If you're a proponent that believes the New Testament was originally written in Greek, boy, you about to get your whole head took off your shoulders today. After I give this presentation, I'll put the link in the chat. I dare you to come. This is what you gotta, this is what you're up against. You see all these hyperlinks? I'm talking about scholarship. Now, so again, why am I even mentioning this? Because Josephus, the writings of Josephus are in Greek, but he said that he couldn't even speak the language properly or even write it. So clearly, And he said it was an abomination for a Hebrew to write or learn Greek during the New Testament period. So saying that just because you have the oldest manuscripts in Greek does not prove your point, because we can use Josephus as an example of some ancient manuscripts in Greek, but they were originally written in Hebrew. Bad argument. Now, the Old Testament. Let's the same argument. Let's entertain it. The oldest one we have is in Greek, so it have to be in Greek. Let's entertain that. The Old Testament. Everybody, what was the Old Testament written in? I think the silliest, newest babe, the silliest, newest novice babe in Hebrew Israelism can answer this question. What was the the Old Testament written in? What language? Oh man, this was exciting. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to even come up with another lesson that I was this excited for. All right, Hebrew, y'all. So there's no argument. The whole world would agree that the Old Testament was written in Hebrew. But, brothers and sisters, the oldest manuscript we have of the New Testament, the oldest composition, not fragments, the oldest composition we have, a codex, meaning a book, is the Greek Septuagint. Hello? So the LXX, also known as the Greek Septuagint, was another time where the devil in those Edomite Greeks forced us to translate our Hebrew scriptures when they conquered us 300 years before Christ, and forced us to translate our Hebrew scriptures into Greek. So you see how stupid that argument is? You see, now here goes Shane Edwards talking about, do you guys believe Gentiles can be saved? Get him the hell out of here. Here we are talking about textual criticism, having a scholarly linguistic conversation, and we're not talking about soteriology, my man. Have a seat in the back. Sheesh. Anyway, I don't have a lot of time today because I got some things to do, so we have to go. Now, why are we bringing this up? The oldest Old Testament that we have is the Greek Septuagint, written in Greek. But we know nobody would argue that the Old Testament was written in Hebrew. So by that same logic, if you're going to say the oldest manuscript we have is in Greek, so it was written in Greek, then you would have to purport that Josephus's writings were written in Greek and that the Old Testament was written in Greek, because that's the oldest manuscripts we have. It's stupid. Right? So prior to any okay, so I just want to confirm this. Nah, we can keep going. But I do want to bring this out since I got it. I might as well. Everything I got, I might as well show you guys. So the Kid of Hinnom Scrolls is probably it's the oldest surviving text currently known from the Hebrew Bible, dating to 600 BC. This is just in case anybody wants to get simple and say, well, Deacon, how do you know the Old Testament was written in Hebrew? Now, although the Greek Septuagint is a complete composition, we have fragments that predate the LXX, Greek Septuagint, that substantiate the Old Testament was written in Hebrew. All right, back here. I'm gonna have to close out of some of these in a second because we got so many. Excuse me. All right, so why is the oldest Hebrew Bible manuscript written in Greek? Clearly, it's the oldest surviving manuscript. Let's pull that up just in case y'all don't know what the Greek Septuagint is. The Septuagint, the Greek Septuagint, also known as the Septuagint, means 70, because it is alleged that 70 Israelites translated the Hebrew text to Greek, right? So, and that was about the 3rd century, right? You all should know that. I shouldn't even have to pull up that source. All right. So why is it the oldest manuscript we have? Clearly because it's the oldest surviving manuscript. So when we fast forward to the New Testament, I hope I'm not losing y'all. Like I said, today's class is for the scholarly brothers and sisters. I'm sorry. Sometimes you're gonna hear me talking about C-Mac. Sometimes you might hear me talking about Lil Uzi Vert and how he's a Satan worshiping homosexual. Sometimes you'll hear a debate. Sometimes you'll hear me going in on somebody. Sometimes you'll hear some of my music. But today is for the scholarly brothers and sisters. So I hope you guys are keeping up with me. I hope so. All right. Now, so when somebody says the oldest New Testament we have is in Greek, which would be the Codex Sinaiticus or the Textus Receptus, that argument is moot. Okay, and it's bad. It's a bad argument because we can make the case of with Josephus' writings and the Old Testament. All right. So moving on, scholars also point to the Greek Septuagint as being the dominant, circulating, and preferred Old Testament. Right? What does that mean? That during the time of Christ, we preferred to read. We preferred to read out of the Greek Septuagint. Can you imagine that? Josephus just said that it was an abomination for a Hebrew Israelite to write or to learn Greek. But you mean to tell me that we preferred to read the Greek Septuagint during the first century as if it was just so great? The Greek Septuagint was just so great. We love it. We want to read that instead of our Hebrew scrolls. That's a lie, right? So scholars also point to the Greek Septuagint as being the dominant, circulating, and preferred Old Testament among the Jews during the New Testament period. But how can, I need you guys to hear this. How can, because in the New Testament, you'll see when they translated it from Hebrew to Greek, the scriptures we were quoting from the Old Testament, they put the Greek Septuagint versions in there. So they didn't put the Dead Sea Scroll version. You wouldn't see the Masoretic text version or whatever Hebrew manuscripts we had at the time in there. You'll see the Greek Septuagint rendering of Isaiah or the Greek Septuagint rendering when Christ is speaking, or in Acts 15, when James is speaking about Amos 9, you'll see the Greek Septuagint rendering. Like we just preferred the Greek Septuagint over our Hebrew manuscripts. You know how silly that sounds? That's like a Chinese man preferring the English version of the Tao Te Ching, right, over its original language. Or Hindus preferring the English translation of the Upanishads in the Rig Veda over the Sanskrit version. You see how stupid that is? Imagine an East Indian saying, I prefer East Indian Hindu saying that they prefer their books, which would be the most common books of the Hindu religion would be the Rig Vedas or the Upanishads, written in Sanskrit, which is the original language of those Elamites over there. Imagine them saying, we prefer our Hindu books in English instead of Sanskrit. See, the whole world has just made us look like stupid asses by believing some shit like this. Excuse my language, I'm sorry. Continuing on, excuse me. So they act like the Greek Septuagint was the most preferred Old Testament during the New Testament period, right? So I said, but how can this be if the Jews, if there was a holiday, listen closely, y'all, there was a holiday of mourning. Excuse me. The Jews had a holiday of mourning, not morning, 8 a.m. You got your coffee. I'm talking about mourning of crying out to God. We have a holiday of crying out to God Why? Commemorating the day we had to translate our Hebrew scriptures to Greek because it was so horrible. One of the darkest hours in Hebrew Israelite history. Oh, you think I'm lying? Now watch this. How can it be the preferred Old Testament, the Greek Septuagint, during the time of Christ, if we have a holiday of mourning commemorating the blasphemous act of being forced to translate our holy Torah into the language of Greek? Watch this, since you think I'm lying. This is from Safaria.org. Look what it says. The 10th of Tevet and the morning after. The 10th of Tevet and the morning after. Now look what it says. Let me go down here. Let me go down. Okay, now watch this, y'all. Watch this, watch this, watch this. Oh, let me get some bombs. Let's drop some bombs. Let's drop some bombs. Let me get some bombs in the chat. Look what it says. The 8th of Tevet is viewed in, it's saying Judaism, whatever, as a dark day in history. The day of which great violence was done to Hashem's Torah. It was on this date that the translation of the 5 books of Moshe into a pagan tongue, Greek, i.e., the Septuagint, was completed. Oh, my goodness. So when we read the New Testament and we see Christ and the apostles quoting from the Old Testament, they're giving you the Greek Septuagint rendering of those Old Testament scriptures, as if we were walking around with the Greek Septuagint, as if the Greek Septuagint was laid up in the temple of God. When Josephus says we hated it, it was an abomination to learn it and write it, in that we actually had a holiday commemorating the day that it was done because it was a dark day in history for us. Hello? Let's continue. Let's continue. Furthermore, I gotta get going through this. Furthermore, the Greek Septuagint quotes in the New Testament are only proof of a later translation from the Hebrew to Greek. That's proof. That shows you that they could not have been speaking. I'm not saying they didn't know Greek. But I'm saying our everyday language predominantly was Hebrew, not Aramaic, not Greek. That's what I'm saying. So that proves it. And I'm going to keep going. Yet and still, even though they did this, let me show you guys something. I'm going to put another bomb in the chat. I'm going to show you guys something. I'm going to have to get this book out. I don't know if I'm going to have enough time to get through all this. I'm going to have to put the book out. Watch this, you guys. Even though they took the New Testament from Hebrew and translated it into Greek and then put the Greek Septuagint Old Testament quotations in there, they did a horrible job, guys. They did a horrible job because there's some in the New Testament, there's some Old Testament quotations that you cannot find in the Greek Septuagint. Watch this. Let me give an example. John chapter 19, verse 37. John chapter 19, verse 37. Watch this, y'all. Look what it says. John chapter 19, verse 37. It says, and again, another scripture saith, they shall look on him whom they pierced. I'm going to read it again. They shall look on him whom they pierced. This is the New Testament quoting an Old Testament scripture in Zechariah 12 and 10, I believe. No, 12. We'll get it. But this is not in the Greek Septuagint. Let's prove that. Watch this, y'all. They be messing up, y'all. I mean, just messing up. Look at this. Zechariah 12 and 10. It is 10. Salakia. Zechariah 12 and 10. Let's see if it mentions the word pierced here. This is the Greek Septuagint. Let's see if it mentions the word pierced. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and compassion, and they shall look upon me because they have mocked me, and they shall make lamentation for him as a beloved friend, and they shall grieve intensely as for a firstborn son. Where in the hell is the word pierced here? What does this prove, brothers and sisters? That even when they were translating the Hebrew to Greek, they still had a Hebrew source. Because you're only going to find that word pierced in the Masoretic text or the Dead Sea Scrolls. So for all you Christians who try to act like we were quoting from the Greek Septuagint, we preferred it over everything else, that's a lie. And you guys did a horrible, sloppy job even trying to cover this up and hide this type of stuff. Let's continue. It gets worse, y'all. We're just warming up. We're just warming up, right? So we clearly see that they had Hebrew manuscripts of the Old Testament, which we'll look at in the historical evidence portion. We're going to get more evidence on this in the historical evidence portion. All right. Now, the second common argument is that Greek was the lingua franca. What is a lingua franca? All right. Now, Christians today, they don't know what the hell a lingua franca is. They're just using this to push this Greek dominance. This Greek dominance. Like they were just such good Greeks. Like they were just good at something. They burned everybody's library. They forced every other nation and culture around them to translate their books into Greek. Talk about the Library of Alexandria. Right? So the lingua franca does not mean that it's the dominant language. Not every time you hear lingua franca, it does not mean the dominant language. It also is a bartering language, a language of trade. Okay, I got to trade with them. You know, Greek, Latin, Spanish, it's all similar. So they have the supremacy. We're under their captivity. They have the dominance over all the provinces, the surrounding provinces. So we have to use this language as a bartering system or system of trade. Doesn't mean that a lingua franca is the everyday language used in that society, as we'll prove. Although Greek was the lingua franca during the New Testament period, it was not the everyday language, and we're going to prove that with primary sources. God damn it. Yay! I've been waiting for this package. Lock the door. I've been waiting for this package. Hey, all of y'all who ordered children's Bibles, I just got them. They're about to be on the way. A Greek, yeah, that's right. A nigga with a Greek nigga at my door. A Greek freak. Now, let's keep going. So let's get what a lingua franca is, right? The lingua franca, um, it's French, or it's the Frankish tongue. Also known as, well, I'm sorry, lingua franca, Frankish tongue, right? Also known as a bridge language. See, why you Christians leave that out? A bridge language. Not the everyday language, but it can be an everyday language. You see that? A bridge language, a common language, a trade language, auxiliary language, vehicular language, or link language. Nigga, let's link. Only way we can link is we're speaking the same language. Officer Madabar of UPK. Shout out to the UPK in the building. Shalom, brother. So let's not get that confused. Yes, the Greek was the lingua franca during the New Testament period, but a lingua franca does not infer or denote that it's the common everyday language. It also could be used as a bridge language, a trade language, or a link language, right? So let's keep going. It was the lingua franca during the first century. This is their argument, that Greek was the lingua franca during the first century. So the Jews had to be speaking Greek because it was the lingua franca. Jesus had to be speaking Greek because it was the lingua franca. They had to be reading from the Greek Septuagint because it was the lingua franca. That is so silly. It's stupid. I promise you, because there's archaeological, historical, and textual evidence that Hebrew was our everyday language. And we're going to prove that. So yes, it was the lingua franca for trade. Let's get that straight. During the first century, and that the Hebrew language was already dying out at the time. That's their argument. That Greek was the lingua franca and that Hebrew was already dying out, right? So it says during the first century and that Hebrew was dying out. That's their argument. Therefore, Jesus and the disciples and the Israelites would have to have spoken Greek by and large. This is their argument. Now, although Greek was the lingua franca, it was mostly used for a bartering system, not everyday life for Israelites. Hebrew was the dominant language in Israel. Here is the proof. We got to go in this order, y'all. We're going to deal with archaeological evidence, historical evidence, and then textual evidence. Oh, it's about to get bad. Some of y'all better pray to the Most High. I don't want this to be a stumbling block for y'all, because what you're going to see when we look in the Greek text, you're going to see a lot of Greek gods, actual Greek gods. So either our Lord was teaching idolatry and the apostles were, or we're going to substantiate that they translated our Hebrew text into Greek, right? So let's look at some archaeological evidence. Coinage. Let's look at some coinage. The first Jewish revolt coinage was issued by the Jews after the Zealots captured Jerusalem and the Jewish temple and the Romans in 66 CE. Excuse me. So this is a few years before 70 AD, before the temple was destroyed, right? The Jewish leaders of the revolt minted their coins to emphasize their newly obtained independence from Rome. And here you see some of the coinage. A coin issued by the Jewish rebels in 68 to 69. Note, Paleo Hebrew, Paleo Hebrew. But I thought that the Hebrew language was dying and the Greek language was the dominant common language. See, archaeology doesn't lie. What we call archaeology is an eyewitness to the time period. That's what an artifact is. You understand? So look at this. We got the coinage. Look at this half shekel, right? Coin issued by Jewish rebels in 67 and 68. Note, Paleo Hebrew alphabet. So we got coinage. Let's keep going. Let's get some more. Oh, the Hasmonean coinage. Hasmonean coinage, 40 to 37 BC. So we almost got 100-year time span of the so-called New Testament period during the time of Christ, circa, where we see Hasmonean coinage, which is the Hasmonean dynasty, Israelites, particularly Levites, Maccabees, right? we see their coinage in Hebrew. Look what it says. The Hebrew inscriptions found on the Hasmonean coins are such. Don Brad, right. So we got archaeological proof. We got archaeological proof that we were dealing in Hebrew. Not Aramaic, some Aramaic, but by and large and dominantly Hebrew. Let's continue. Other artifacts. The trumpeting place inscription. The trumpeting place inscription. So this was an artifact that came off of the part of the temple structure where we would blow the trumpet, right? We would blow the trumpet at a particular part of the temple structure. And this is a piece of that part, right? So look what it says. The trumpeting place inscription is an inscribed stone from the 1st century CE, New Testament period, right? It was discovered in 1968 by Benjamin Mazar in his early excavations of the southern wall of the Temple Mount. The stone showing just 2 complete words written in the square Hebrew alphabet. Can I get a hello? 911? What's your emergency? Yeah, Christianity is dead. You guys are liars. And you translated the Hebrew New Testament to Greek to influence paganism, to try to gain steam for the so-called, the false white supremacist religion known as Christianity. And we're going to prove that with modern day scholarship and scholarship of antiquity. So we got another artifact that shows that this temple, an inscription from the Temple Mound, its inscription is from the square Hebrew alphabet. Not only that, y'all, watch this. Look at this. It is believed to be a directional sign for the priest who blew the trumpet announcing the beginning of the Shabbat in the second temple period. Key point right here. It is thought to have fallen from the southwest corner of the Temple Mount to the street below. Prior to its discovery, it has been connected to a passage in Josephus, the Jewish War, in which he describes a part of the temple, the point where it was the custom for one priest to stand up to give notice by the sound of the trumpet. So even Josephus is an attestation to this archaeological find, the trumpeting place inscription written in Hebrew. Not Aramaic, not Greek. Let's continue. Hebrew fragments and scrolls. Hebrew fragments and scrolls. Oh my God. Do you guys see some of these comments? Somebody just said Aramaic. It was in Aramaic. There was no official Hebrew writing. I mean, are you listening to this video on mute? Are you listening to this class on mute? Did it say it was written in Hebrew? I'm sorry, Aramaic? Or did it say it was written in Hebrew? All right. We're still on archaeological evidence that what? We're going to get to the actual scriptures in a minute. But we're dealing with the lie that they say Hebrew was dying and Greek was the everyday language. We're dealing with that first. We're going in order, right? Now, let's look at some Hebrew fragments and scrolls. The Dead Sea Scrolls, right? Let's get the second paragraph here. Second paragraph from the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian, what does that mean? It's verifiable. It's a reliable source. Let's go to the second paragraph here. Now watch this, y'all. Oh, this is good. This is good. Okay. Okay, here we go. They have come to this harsh and remote site in the West Bank known as the Qumran because so they found the Dead Sea Scrolls comprising more than 800 documents made of animal skin and papyrus, that's a type of leaf, and even forged copper. This is what the Dead Sea Scrolls were written on. Deepened our understanding of the Bible and shed light on the histories of Judaism and Christianity. Among the texts are parts of every book of the Hebrew canon. So the Qumran caves, they're dated back to 1st century CE, sometime before Christ. They weren't written in Aramaic. They weren't written in Greek, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now, you may find a very small minority fragmentary finds in Aramaic and Greek, but predominantly these Dead Sea Scrolls are in Hebrew. But I thought Greek was the lingua franca and we preferred to write Greek and speak Greek. You're a liar. Let's keep going. What Christians call today the Old Testament, except the book of Esther. Now watch this. The scrolls also contain, here's the kicker, here's the kicker. The scrolls also contain a collection of previously unknown hymns, prayers, commentaries, mystical formulas, and the earliest version of the Ten Commandments. Why is that important? If you know about the Dead Sea Scrolls, they were writing about what they did on their everyday life. Prayers, hymns, how they washed clothes, when they washed clothes, when they went to bed, what they ate. They wrote all of this in Hebrew. Now, one could make the case and say, well, of course, they would rewrite the Torah in Hebrew. That's holy and sacred to them. But you cannot get around the fact that they're writing about their everyday life in Hebrew, showing you that Hebrew was our dominant language during the New Testament period, our everyday common language. Can't get around that. Let's continue. Let's continue. All right, all this proving, so the archaeological point, all proving Hebrew was alive and dominant during the New Testament period. Let's continue. Let's try to get through this. Historical evidence. Oh, it's about to get good. Historical evidence. Josephus. We're getting people's historical points about the New Testament. Now we're going to get into the New Testament, and still we're going to deal with how Hebrew was the dominant, lively language, common language amongst first century Israelites. Historical evidence. Get a Most High hand. All praises. Historical evidence. Josephus didn't know Greek and wrote in Hebrew and said it was a shame to speak Greek. Josephus, Antiquities, chapter 20, verse, let's go to 20, and we're going to go to 11, verse 2. Chapter 11, verse 2, or section 2. Now watch this, y'all. Let me scoot up here. Y'all can't get around this. Quit playing. Talking about the apostles. Here you have Josephus and all the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Essenes. So many witnesses, primary sources from this time period saying we wasn't dealing with the Greek. So how the hell everybody following Christ when by and large all these Jews hated the Greek language, hated speaking it, learning it, and writing it, but Christ walking around speaking it, teaching it, writing it? Hello? Now, look at this. But now Agrippina was afraid. Salakia. Let's go to, all right, now watch this, y'all. Syria suffer Macedonian, 1,000 years. Section of kings, empowered monarchs, foreigner. Okay, here we go. And I am so bold as to say, now I have so completely perfected the work I propose to myself to do. Talking about his writings. That no other person, whether he were a Jew or a foreigner, had he ever so great an inclination to it, could so accurately deliver these accounts to the Greeks as he has done in these books. For those of my own nation freely acknowledge that I far exceed them in the learning belonging to the Jews. I have also taken a great deal of pain to obtain learning from the Greeks and understand the element of the Greek language. He understands it. You got some people who understand Spanish but can't speak it or write it. But watch what he says. Although I have so long accustomed myself to speaking our own tongue, which is Hebrew. I thought it was dead. I thought it was Aramaic. That I cannot pronounce Greek with sufficient exactness. This is him saying this. Look at this. For our nation does not encourage those that learn the languages of many nations, and so adorn their discourses with smoothness of these periods. We already went to where he said it was an abomination to write it and learn it. Now he's saying that our nation does not encourage the learning of the languages of these other nations. But Christ and the apostles going around with a Greek Septuagint, writing in Greek and speaking in Greek. Let's continue. More historical evidence. Oh, this is a good one. This is a good one. Where we at? All right. 2 Maccabees 15:29. Now, this was about 160 years before Christ, right? That's probably the beginning of the Hasmonean dynasty. 2 Maccabees 15:29, right? It says, then they made a great shout and a noise, praising the Almighty in their own language. In their own language. So we got biblical historicity and we got secular history, saying that we are speaking in our own tongue. Let's keep going. We have, what is this? Oh. This is probably the best point right here. This is probably the best point. Now, okay, so watch this, y'all. Who's familiar with the Palestinian canon? Who is familiar with the Palestinian canon? Probably none of you guys. I'm not. Well, let's see. Without a Google, who's familiar with the Palestinian canon? If you don't, it's okay. That's what we're here for. We're learning this together. Who's familiar with the Palestinian canon? This is such a cold point. I could talk on this for about 2 hours. Okay, so none of you guys are gonna know what the Palestinian canon is. That's okay. It's fine. We're here to learn today. Okay, so during the first century, you had the Palestinian canon and you had the Alexandrian canon. All right, and this is such a good point, y'all. Now, remember, they're saying that Christ was and the disciples were walking around with the Greek Septuagint quoting from it. That's the Alexandrian canon. That's the canon that the Israelites who were in Egypt put together. Alexandria, Egypt. So they had some Apocrypha books along with the Hebrew Old Testament. And they dealt with the Greek Septuagint over there in Egypt, right? Now, tell me what sense does this make before I get these two sources? What sense does this make that you have a Palestinian canon, which is also known as the Hebrew canon, meaning the books that we dealt with in Palestine or Israel, we call it the Hebrew canon. The Greek Septuagint was not really favored like that in Israel. right? Of course, because we had a whole holiday mourning for how horrible that was. But in the Alexandria, Egypt, the Israelite foreigners, the Hellenized Israelites, they dealt with the Alexandrian canon. Now, how in God's green earth are these law-thumping religious fanatics, Hebrew extremists during the first century dealing with the Alexandrian canon, which would be the Greek Septuagint? You scholars, see, when you lie, you have to tell another lie to cover up another lie. And that's what happened with Christianity. You'll say that they was going around quoting the Greek Septuagint, and then you'll hear Christians saying, oh, the Jews had the Hebrew. See, let me try to articulate this so you guys can get it. Christians hate the Apocrypha. So even Vocab Malone, when Vocab Malone was trying to go against the Apocrypha, he said that the Hebrews in the first century was dealing with the Palestinian canon, which is the Hebrew canon, so they would not have been dealing with the Apocrypha. You see how you shoot yourself? You see how you stupid fake apologists shoot yourself in the foot? So by you trying to disprove the Apocrypha, you proved that the first century Israelites were dealing with the Hebrew canon, that the Apocrypha may not have been in there, but that doesn't mean it's not valid. But it proves that they weren't walking around quoting from the Greek Septuagint, you idiot. I'm sorry, y'all. It's just an idiotic logic where you try to tell one lie, you get caught in another lie. So let's deal with the Palestinian canon, which is also known as the Hebrew canon, right? This is what was existing during the New Testament period. They didn't have the Greek Septuagint Alexandrian canon. So this cuts the New Testament when the New Testament tries to act like, the Greek New Testament, when they try to act like the apostles in Christ are quoting Old Testament scriptures from the Greek Septuagint. You're a liar, because there's something called the Palestinian canon. And that is our ace in the hole. Oh, there's more. So let's get this. Let's get this. Now look at this. The table of this is a website called the Septuagint Online. No. This is called calvesmaki.com. I'll put this link in the description box as well. Now, I want to show you guys something so you guys can see what I'm saying. This shows you the New Testament, what it says. It shows you what the Greek Septuagint says and the Masoretic text. So usually the New Testament, when it's quoting Old Testament scripture, it will be a parallel of the Greek Septuagint, as you can see right here. And thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, one to be Judah, he shall govern, he shall rule my people. So you'll be able to see the different quotations from the New Testament, and they make it seem as if the New Testament authors and people were quoting from the Greek Septuagint, but that can't be if the Jews at the time had the Hebrew Palestinian canon. Oh, that's such a cut. God, it just gets deeper. The more you find out the lies of the white man and the lies of Christianity, to some people, it might bug you out. But to me, it's exciting to understand that God is dealing with the Hebrew Israelite community, us as a body, and bringing us these revelations of truth. Now watch this. So I said, so you mean to tell me they're reading from the Greek Septuagint, but they had the Palestinian canon? The Hebrew books they adhered to and read from during the time of the Messiah. So why is the New Testament trying to convey it like they were reading from the Greek Septuagint when they were quoting Old Testament scripture? Now, this is a proof they were quoting from. Okay, here we go. Now look at this. The Jewish canon is calling it the Jewish canon, and the Christian canon. Right now, okay, here we go. Let me scoot up on this. Now this is from web.cn.edu, and it's just dealing with the canons. But anybody can look up the Hebrew canon, which is also the Palestinian canon. You can look up the Alexandrian canon. But watch this. Watch how these devils tell on themselves. The first, it was scholars call the first is what scholars call the Hebrew canon. Whoo, you guys just be telling on yourself. Watch this. Watch this. Hold on. However, many rabbis could not agree completely about the books that should be in this canon. In spite of the Jamnian Council, some Jewish communities raised questions over Ezekiel, the Songs of Solomon, Esther, for instance. Many Jewish communities accepted some of these texts but rejected others. In general, however, only a few versions of the official canons were approved across the ancient world. I don't think you guys understand what's going on here. I'm going to try to explain this again. The first is what scholars call the Hebrew canon or Palestinian canon, i.e., from the Jamnia Council around 95 CE. 95 CE. The first canon contains 24 books of the Old Testament. I don't think you guys understand what's going on here. These guys are literally telling on themselves. Watch this. So the Hebrew canon, it had 24 books of the Old Testament. It appears as a reaction to the fall of Jerusalem in 70 CE, response to the Christian movement by closing off the ranks in the Jewish community, Christian leaders. The 24 books model a collection of 39, such as 1st century driving books of the minor prophets. Hebrew scribes prefer in general to classify the Hebrew canon into 3 sections: the Torah, basically the Tanakh, right? The law, the prophets, and the writings. A quick chart illustrates the distinction here. Protestants, Christians divide the Hebrew canon into group law, history, wisdom. Now, watch this, y'all. The Alexandrian canon arose in Alexandria, Egypt, where many Jews resided during the Greek period, 330 to 30 BC. It was probably about this time that the Jewish tradition developed an immortal soul. Previously, other books of the Bible stressed Sheol, the grave, and did not dwell on the potential afterlife. This material doctrine reflected the mourning of Christ, Sadducees. Okay, here we go. Prophets, however, here we go. However, they gradually expanded the canon to include 15 extra writings. Modern Protestants typically reject these books as being apocryphal. Here we go. The Alexandrian canon powerfully influenced the medieval patristic scholar St. Jerome. He's the one who compiled the Latin Vulgate 400 years after Christ, Jerome, who in the late 4th century of this era translated the Greek Septuagint, a Greek translation of the Hebrew according to the Alexandrian canon, into the Latin Vulgate, adding it to the New Testament. So what did we just read, bro? What did we just read, everybody? We just read that these devils are telling on themselves. How are the apostles speaking Greek, reading Greek, writing Greek, and quoting from the Greek Septuagint if they had the Hebrew canon, which the Greek Septuagint was not a part of that according to the information, although we were familiar with it. The Greek Septuagint was predominant in the Alexandrian canon, which was in Alexandria, Egypt, for the Hellenized Jews. Hello? I hope you guys can get that, man. I'm trying to convey it in rudimentary layman terms. So I hope you guys get that. That's a very, very huge point. All praise to the Most High. Let's continue. I don't have a lot of time here. All right. Well, what is the conclusion? The conclusion of that particular point is that they had the Hebrew canon, which the Greek Septuagint wasn't a part of. So how the hell was he quoting the Greek Septuagint when he was quoting these scriptures? All right, let's keep going. Historical evidence showing that our scriptures were in Hebrew, we were speaking in Hebrew, and we were writing in Hebrew. More historical evidence. Due to a plurality, due to a plurality of Hebrew manuscripts. Now, watch this. I'm about to give you guys some more game. When did the Masoretic text started being? When did the Masoretic text start being compiled? When did the Masoretic text start being compiled? You guys should know this. When did the Masoretic text start getting compiled? The Masoretic text is the Hebrew Old Testament. When did they start compiling it? When did they start working on it? Let's get the chat involved here. We're going to learn together today. There is no stupid answer. There is no stupid answer. We're about to get... Oh, okay. Somebody been listening. Somebody put 25,000 BC. Somebody get him the hell out of here. One of you moderators, get him the hell out of here now. All right, so we got some good answers. We got some good answers. We got some good answers. All right. So, sorry, bro, you got to go. All right, let's get going. Why am I so due to a plurality of Hebrew manuscripts, Dr. Michael Heiser, every Christian has Dr. Michael Heiser knee pads on. I'm not gonna lie to you. Now, I like the work of Dr. Michael Heiser. I fact-checked some of his work. It's checking out. He's registering. Dr. Michael Heiser is probably one of the top 5 Christian theologians that are alive today. Guaranteed without a doubt. None of you Christians will be able to oppose or deal with Dr. Michael Heiser. Matter of fact, if you're not familiar with Dr. Michael Heiser, he actually debated the elder of GOCC, Elder Rakah, on the name of the Most High. And this wasn't Dr. James White. Now, Dr. James White, you know, we love our brother over there, the leader of GOCC, as a fellow Israelite. But Dr. James White mopped him up. I mean, mopped him. And then after that, he debated Dr. Michael Heiser about the true name pronunciation of the Most High. Dr. Michael Heiser mopped him up, but we still love the brother. So we have Dr. Michael Heiser, top 5 scholar on the planet as far as Christianity is concerned. And he tells you that there was a plurality of Hebrew manuscripts during the 1st century. What does this prove? It proves that we had the Hebrew canon, but we had many forms of the Hebrew canon. It's just the 24 books in different Hebrew compositions, right? So Dr. Michael Heiser says, according to the information, that the Masoretes, I'm gonna give you guys some game here. The Masoretes started compiling the Masoretic text in 100 AD, the 1st century, all right? The 1st century, and it didn't get complete until about 1000 AD. So let's hear him corroborate that, just in case any of you Christians want to try to come for me. You'll be coming for your daddy, Dr. Michael Heiser. But what does this prove? It proves that we had Hebrew manuscripts. We had those Hebrew canons during the 1st century. Wasn't walking around reading Greek Septuagint, quoting the Old Testament from the Greek Septuagint, and then writing it in the New Testament. So let's listen.
You say, well, how then did we get to the situation? Read this with Bible code now.
So this is Dr. Michael Heiser on the Masoretic text, right? So let's take a listen.
I read on the internet about the Hebrew Bible, the Masoretic text. This is the Hebrew Bible, this edition. Okay, again, the reason that becomes what it is because people are just telling you stuff. Okay, there was no one Hebrew Bible.
You see that? There was no one Hebrew Bible. Here it is. Your scholar is condemning all of Christianity inadvertently. You guys talking about Christ and the apostle was walking around with the Greek Septuagint because of the lingua franca, and they're quoting Old Testament Greek Septuagint, and they're writing it down in the New Testament. It's all a lie. It's all a lie. And we're gonna get why. If you're just coming in, you got to wait until we get to the textual evidence. That's gonna be the hottest portion on here, because you're gonna have to buckle up your seatbelt. If Alazar is watching, Alazar tried to tell me not to give you guys all of this. You might bug out. It's real meat. What? Okay, so let's keep going.
That like survived the last gasp of the kingdom, before Nebuchadnezzar destroyed the temple, and then someone ran away with it and started copying it. Okay, you don't have evidence for that. You have evidence for 3 at least, and they all hit the same chronological wall, the Dead Sea Scrolls. They all hit 200 BC.
He just said there was 3 ancient Hebrew manuscripts that he said, although it hit a wall about 200 BC, they were still circulating, even though they forced us to translate the Hebrew to the Greek. But guess what we are? We're some hard-headed, rebellious Negroes. What do I mean by that? We should have been hard-headed and rebellious when it came to them forcing us to burn our Hebrew scriptures and create the Greek Septuagint. So what did we do? We played it like Debo. Debo, when Debo come around, he be telling me not to talk. But when he leave, I be talking again. And that's the same thing with the Greeks. They burned our Hebrew scriptures. They made us translate them into the Greek Septuagint, but we actually rewrote them again in Hebrew, which is why Dr. Michael Heiser is saying there was a plurality of Hebrew manuscripts during the 1st century, and that's why the Masoretes started making the Masoretic text to narrow it down to 1. Am I talking good?
That's just the way it is. So again, we have to align our thinking with the data that actually exist, not a story or a narrative that we want to invent. What we know as the Masoretic text actually was created at around 100 AD.
At what? Hello? Hold on. I got to get a hello here.
Align our thinking with the data that actually exist, not a story or a narrative that we want to invent. What we know as the Masoretic text actually was created at around 100 AD.
Hello? So we got the Masoretic text started being compiled in 100 AD, but Hebrew was dying out. Hebrew had already died out, and Greek was the lingua franca, and we preferred the Greek Septuagint. You a goddamn liar, all you Christians, liars. And in an attempt to try to prove the Greek New Testament, you just cannot hide. You cannot hide the truth. You cannot cover up every lie. Let's continue. So, historical evidence. All right, we talked about Josephus. We talked about the Maccabees saying we were speaking in our own tongue. We talked about the Palestinian canon, which is the Hebrew canon. We're talking about the Masoretic text, which was started to get compiled in the 1st century, right? Now, let's look at the Bar Kokhba revolt. The Bar Kokhba revolt was the last revolt of us in 135 AD, the Bar Kokhba revolt. He was a general, and he wrote a letter to his army in, guess what language? Guess what language General Bar Kokhba wrote the letter to his soldiers to? What language did he write it in? Let's take a guess. Aramaic? No, this isn't Aramaic primacy. Did he write it in Aramaic? Did he write it in Greek? Did he write it in Latin? Huh? It's just too much. Why would you guys think that the Lord wasn't going to wake up the true children of Israel to expose and debunk all your lies and forgeries? Let's take a look at General Bar Kokhba. Look at this, right? 4 letters of Bar Kokhba. Simon bin Kosiba, surnamed Simon Bar Kokhba. He was a so-called, he was trying to act like he was a Messiah. That's a part. We're not saying he's righteous. We're not saying he's holier than thou. Excuse me. We're just using him as a historical reference to prove that we were speaking in Hebrew and writing in Hebrew. So he wrote a letter to his army, right? In what? In Hebrew. As you see right here, this is the details of the letter. To the right is written in Hebrew to the country of Israel. And this is what he's telling them. You know, we don't have to read the letter, but Bar Kokhba, he wrote several letters to his army in Hebrew. This is what you call historical and also textual fragmentary evidence. I mean, why would you guys be such liars to even purport that Hebrew died? We were writing in Hebrew, blah, blah. We were writing in Greek, blah, 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 blah. Let me close out of some of these. Let me close out of some of these. Let me close out of some of these. I'll come back if I need them. Right? Feed them. All right. So let's keep going. Y'all with me? Y'all with me? All right. Now, I know everybody's saying, okay, Deacon, you prove that they had the Hebrew canon. You prove that they were speaking Hebrew on their daily life. You prove that whatever they wrote, by and large, majority would be in Hebrew. But where is that? Where is it explicitly saying the New Testament was written in Hebrew? Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about Papias Bishop Hierapolis. Bishop Hierapolis, 150 AD. You know you Christians worship the early church fathers, right? All you Christians worship the early church fathers. So let's see what they had to say. And this is our historical portion. Matthew put down the words of the Lord. Hold on. Quote. Quote. Matthew put, Salakia, 1 second. All right. Quote. Quote. Matthew put down the words of the Lord in the Hebrew language. Hello? And others have translated them each as best as he could. This is 150 AD. Bishop Hierapolis saying Matthew wrote down. Anybody can look this up. All you got to do is type in Bishop Hierapolis on Matthew being written in Hebrew. Let's keep going. This is Irenaeus, one of the earliest church fathers from 120 AD. Matthew indeed produced his gospel written among the Hebrews in their own dialect. I thought, oh, you thought we were lying? You thought we didn't have more proof? It's going to get worse than this. It's going to get worse than this. Trust me. Wait till we get to why they did this, y'all. It's a travesty. Why they translated the Hebrew New Testament into Greek to include pagan deities and pagan gods within the Greek language. I'm gonna show y'all. You better hold on to your seat for that one. Now watch this. This is in the Talmud. Do I agree with the doctrine of the Talmud? Absolutely not. Can I use it for some historicity? Yes. There were debates raging concerning the destruction, just like they did with the Greeks when they forced us to destroy our Hebrew text and create the Greek Septuagint. Now watch this, y'all. It says, there were debates raging concerning the destruction of the scrolls of the New Testament. Just destroy it. Yeah, the New Testament is written in Hebrew. Destroy that. They're not God's chosen people no more. We're about to translate it into Greek like we did with the Greek Septuagint. We're going to permeate paganism and Greek deities and influence within the text so that we can appeal to the Gentile nations surrounding and grow this fake pseudo religion cult called Christianity. I got the proof of that in the spirit. Right? Now look what it says. Because they contain the divine name of God in Hebrew, end quote. According to this source, these devils destroyed the New Testament scriptures because it had the divine name in there in Hebrew. Hello? This debate clearly documents that the Gospels, not just Matthew, the Gospels were written in Hebrew in early church history. God. Can we end the live stream? Absolutely not. The Babylonian Talmud, Shabbat 116a, the Jerusalem Talmud, Shabbat 15c, and the Tosefta, Shabbat 13.5. And there's something else I didn't put in here, the Targum Jonathan. Now, although it's not Hebrew, it's Aramaic, it proves that we were dealing in a Hebrew dialect because Aramaic is a dialect of Hebrew. The Targum Jonathans. If you don't know what those are, Google them. You should know that. It's supposed to be your history. You're a Hebrew Israelite, right? Now, let's keep going. Let's take a look at Ecclesiastical History, Book 3, 24, verse 26. I believe this is from Eusebius. Matthew had first preached to the Hebrews, and when he was about to go to others also, he transmitted his gospel in writing in his native language. Native language. The New Testament was written in Hebrew, brothers and sisters. Get a Most High in here, man. All praises. Let's keep going. This is also in Ecclesiastical Histories, Book 3, 39 and 16. Matthew collected and wrote the oracles in the Hebrew language. Did we lie? Are we just young, typical punk blacks? Let's keep going. Eusebius. Church History 6, 14 and 2. What did it say? It says, he, Clement was a understudy to Peter. Yeah, so John, the Apostle John taught Polycarp, and Peter taught Clement. All right. Now there's two Clements. There's Clement of Rome and Clement of Alexandria. Peter taught Clement of Rome. He's the earlier Clement. Clement of Alexandria came later. All right. So look what it says. Clement says that the epistle to the Hebrews is the work of Paul. Now, I may not agree with that. You know, it's fine. And that it was written to the Hebrews in the Hebrew language, but that Luke translated carefully and published it for the Greeks. And hence the same style of expression is found in the epistle of the Hebrews and Acts. So here we have a source, of course. It's a letter to the Hebrews. Of course, it will be written in Hebrew. How the hell does a Christian sit up here and say, even the book of Hebrews was written in Greek? What type of liar and devil are you guys? It's a letter to the Hebrews and it was written in Greek. Well, according to Eusebius, it's the works of Paul and it was written in Hebrew. And Luke translated it into Greek. Head crack. Now, watch this. This is dealing with Jerome, the Latin Vulgate. The Latin Vulgate is the first composition, the first compiled book of the New Testament and the Old Testament together. That will be the Latin Vulgate in 400 AD by Jerome, the Latin Vulgate. Now we're going to prove that he had Hebrew manuscripts that he was translating into Latin to create the Latin Vulgate. What does this prove? That we were speaking Hebrew. We had our Hebrew manuscripts, not heavily delving into the Greek Septuagint, and we had our and we were writing in Hebrew still. We were copying our scriptures because they get old. You got to copy, you got to copy, you got to copy. You have to keep copying. That's a job to the scribes, right? So let's continue here. Let's go to the Latin Vulgate. Let's get this information on the Latin Vulgate, right? The Vulgate is largely work of Jerome, who in 382 had commissioned by Pope Damascus to revise the Gospels by the Roman Church. Later, on his own initiative, Jerome extended the work, one of the books of the Bible. Let me get to the point here. Let me get to the point. Jerome's work. Okay, I think this is it. I think this is it right here. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Authorship. So this will be an authorship in the source. So when you deal with Wikipedia, if it has a number in the brackets, then there's source document for this. So there is source document for this, and there's so many sources. All you got to do is research the composition of the Latin Vulgate. Now look what he says. Having separately translated the book of Psalm from the Greek Septuagint, yes, that's true. But it says Jerome translated all the books of the Jewish Bible, the Hebrew book of Psalms included, from Hebrew himself. So when Jerome is compiling the Latin Vulgate, he has Hebrew documents to work with. But I thought it was died out. I thought we weren't writing in Hebrew. I thought Greek was the preferred language because it was the lingua franca. Let's continue. So it says, oh, the Peshitta. Now let's deal with the Peshitta. The Peshitta is the Syriac New Testament, which is also Aramaic, basically. It's an Aramaic New Testament, right? And the Aramaic New Testament, I think it's also compiled of, okay, here we go. The Peshitta is not just the New Testament, right? It's the Old Testament too, but look what it says. The consensus within biblical scholarship, although not universal, but it's fine. We got certain scholars who would agree with us here, is that the Old Testament of the Peshitta was translated into Syriac from biblical Hebrew, probably in the 2nd century AD, and that the New Testament of the Peshitta was translated from Greek. That's fine. That's fine. We'll stick to the Old Testament. The point is that we had biblical Hebrew manuscripts, which they're saying there was none. The Greek was preferred. It was dying out. They're lying. Now, let's keep going here. Let's keep going. Now, here goes the good part. Here goes the good part. I got a little bit more time. I may have to extend this class. Here's the good part. Textual evidence. Who's ready to go into the Bible? Who's ready to go more into the Bible? Textual evidence. All right. So it says, as it turns out, there are 8 explicit citations of Hebrew and none of Aramaic. Why am I saying this? Because the Bible says, let me just finish. For many, this is cut and dry. The New Testament author said Hebrew was being used, so clearly it was. When they say, and he spake in Hebrew, and they heard a voice in Hebrew, and he spake to them in Hebrew. There's 8 explicit citations, even more, I believe, right, that say they were speaking in Hebrew. It doesn't say they were speaking in Aramaic. They were speaking in Hebrew. This is just to prove that Hebrew was not dead. They were speaking in Hebrew and not Aramaic. This is what we're proving here. Now, let's take a look at this real quick. Second paragraph. This is from TorahClass.com. Did the Messiah speak Aramaic or Hebrew? We'll get the second verse here. The second paragraph. Matthew 27, 46 to 49. About the ninth hour, it says Yeshua cried out in a loud voice, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? When some of those standing there heard this, they said, he's calling Elijah. Immediately, one of them ran up, grabbed a sponge, and filled it with vinegar, put it on a stick, and offered it to him to drink. The rest said, now leave him alone. Let's see if Elijah comes. Right? Salakia. Reference installments. New Testament. As it turns out, I'm not sure what. Oh, my bad. First paragraph. Salakia. First paragraph. Okay. I already read this. And want more through the explanation in the second temple. Consequently, okay, cool. So anyway, you want to fact check that, look at that, whatever. But let's examine in the text. Let's examine inside the Bible where it says they are speaking Hebrew, right? This is Strong's G 144.7. Now watch this. I like these hyperlinks. I like these hyperlinks here. Now look at this. It's in the Hebrew tongue. In the Hebrew tongue, right? In the Hebrew tongue, in the Hebrew, i.e. in Chaldee, Hebraistically, or in the Jewish language, Hebrew tongue. Now look at here. John 5 and 2, we see they know the Hebrew tongue. When Pilate, therefore, had brought Jesus before and sat down in the judgment, it's called in the payment, but in Hebrew, Gabata, John 19 and 17, which is called in the Hebrew, Golgotha. Why are they doing this here? You're supposed to be translating the Hebrew to the Greek, but you're leaving Hebrew and a small amount of Aramaic within the manuscript. Why are you doing it? They did a horrible job trying to cover up their lies. John 19 and 20. And this title then read of the many of the Jews, for the place where Jesus was crucified was nigh to the city, and it was written on the cross in Hebrew and Greek and Latin. Why wasn't it written in Aramaic? Because there's this concept, this ideology called Aramaic primacy, meaning that the New Testament was written in Hebrew, Aramaic. That's not true. Very, very, very minute portion of the New Testament was written in Aramaic, and there is words littered in the Aramaic words littered through the New Testament, right? But this is saying Hebrew. Now they say that only educated people spoke Hebrew during the first century because it was dying out and it wasn't well, this is for everybody to read, not just educated people walk by and read the cross. Everybody walked by and read the cross, and it's in Hebrew. This proves that they knew it and understood it. It was alive and kicking, but we don't see Aramaic on the inscription here. And they had a king over them, which is in the Hebrew tongue. We see it here. Revelation 16 to 16. It was called Armageddon in the Hebrew tongue, right? Let's get some more textual evidence. Let's go to Strong's G 1446. And look what it says. It says, so he spake in the Hebrew tongue, not the Aramaic tongue. He's speaking in Hebrew. And he's Acts 22 and 2. He spoke in the Hebrew tongue. Acts 26 and 14. He spoke in the Hebrew tongue. Let's keep going. Strong's G 1444. In Luke, the superscription wrote in Latin, Hebrew, Greek, Latin, and Hebrew again. Mark substantiating it. No, she is. Who do you think? You'll see when they get here. Let's continue. Yeah. All right. So it says Hebrew words in the New Testament, if they are speaking, so we're gonna go through the text. We're gonna go through the text, right? Now it says Hebrew words in the New Testament. If they are speaking in Greek and writing in Greek, why are there Hebrew words in the New Testament? I.e., they're transliterated. That's what it means. When you see a Hebrew word in the New Testament, they're transliterating it. Meaning, what is a transliteration? We'll get there in a second. Words were translated without them being transliterated. Words were translated without them being proper nouns. Without them being proper nouns. What is a proper noun, y'all? I'm going to explain this. A proper noun is names, people, places. Right? So you have a transliteration and then you have a translation. A translation is you translating what the word means. A transliteration is you giving the same pronunciation of the word, although it's in a different language. That might be too much for some of y'all. I'll try to explain more as we progress. But you're only supposed to transliterate proper nouns, names, peoples, places. But when you read the New Testament, there's Hebrew words there that have been transliterated that are not proper nouns. Why? I.e., hallelujah in Revelation 19. That's a verb. Halal meaning to praise. Yah meaning the name of the Most High. Right? Mark 7:34, where it says mammon. That word mammon is money, but it's a transliteration. That's a Hebrew word, mammon. It's in the Greek as mammon. Even in the New Testament, the English is not even an English word there. It's mammon. That's Hebrew. That has nothing to do with a people, name, or place. We have these verses that I reference right here. Whatever. Let's go to this link right here. Now look at all these words. So look at all these Aramaic words. This is bibtheo.com. Bibtheo.com. And look at these Aramaic words in the New Testament. They're even transliterating Aramaic. Why? Because either the translators are not familiar with Hebrew and Greek, so they cannot find a Hebrew equivalent, so they're transliterating. Or they don't fully understand the native tongue of the Israelites. Now watch this. Empty-headed. These are certain Aramaic words right here. And then here you'll see the Hebrew words. Satan, you'll see Shaitan. Amen, like I pointed out. Gehenna, moth. These are all Hebrew words. Wealth, sackcloth, Shabbat. So when you're reading the Greek, not the English, sometimes in the English, but when you're reading the Greek New Testament, you'll see Hebrew words there. And I'm not talking about the English translation. I'm talking about if you go into the actual Greek language of the New Testament, you will be reading certain Hebrew transliterations. Why? Because it was originally written in Hebrew and the translators didn't fully understand certain Aramaic and Hebrew words. So you'll see rabbi, you'll see rabbi in there. That's a Hebrew word. You'll see Passover, Pesach, that's a Hebrew word. So the way you say Pesach, Passover in Greek would be Pesach. You'll see that in the Greek New Testament. My God, my God. All right, I'll see you guys later. My God, offering, beer. So you'll see all these words, right? And that's a major point of the. Okay, then just leave right in. All right, so let's continue. Where we at right here? I want to play a little bit of this video so that you guys can understand the importance of them leaving transliterated.
If you have a utility meter like on the side of your house, you could get paid to go.
My computer is running so slow. It's a huge point that they left Hebrew words in the Greek New Testament. It's them literally leaving trace evidence, literally leaving fingerprints of us finding their hand in the cookie jar. So let's just take a listen to this linguistic scholar known as Brad Scott. He'll try to explain translations and transliterations probably better than I can.
For no money.
I want to take the time for a few minutes to talk about a fancy word that we use in linguistics called metathesis. Now, metathesis is just a fancy word to describe something that we already know. It also happens to be a chemical term and so forth. But whether you're using it in chemical properties or whether you're using it with words, the same thing is true. The idea is the tendency, especially of going from one language to another, from one syllabary or one alphabetic system to another alphabetic system in another language. But it also happens quite often within a language. Words will have basically the same meaning, but the letters swapped. And that's because many times words come into being by sound. We do them by sound. So you might notice that a Saudi letter in Hebrew, which is expressed as a T and a Z or a T and an S, depending on how they transliterate it. Many times when that letter goes into another language, when it's transliterated, remember, transliteration is a word we use to describe, to transfer the sounds of words.
You see that? So when you see Hebrew words in the Greek New Testament, they're transliterating the sound of it. So if you see a Hebrew word called korban, and then you look in the Greek and you see that word korban, korban means gift or offering. So they were supposed to put whatever gift or offering meant in Greek, but they didn't. They just took the same sound and in their alphabet created that same sound and transmitted it in the text.
Translation is to substitute the same meaning.
So a translation is the meaning of the word. That's what they were supposed to do, but they left all these Hebrew and Aramaic words in actual Greek.
When we choose a word in another language that has the same meaning of our original word. And according to good sound linguistics.
Now, according to good sound linguistics, because I know there's going to be some some Christian scholars who try to debunk this video, you have to debunk his statement right here. According to good sound linguistics,
we're only supposed to do that with common nouns.
You're only supposed to, my bad, Salakia.
Proper nouns should be transliterated.
According to good sound linguistics, only proper nouns are transliterated. People's names, places. But in the New Testament, in the Greek version, we see Hebrew words that are not proper nouns. Why? Because it's evidence that they're translating from a Hebrew text.
Now, what does that mean? Transliteration means to choose another sound in another language. The reason why we do it with proper nouns, remember what proper nouns are. Proper nouns are names, people, places. And for example, a mountain, a city, a country, a name.
See that? So we find these words in Hebrew and Aramaic that are not proper nouns, but they're still transliterated. Passover is not a people, place, or name. It's a high holy day. Offering, that's not a people, place, or name. So let's continue here. Let's try to get through this. Let's try to get to the deeper part, right? So we played that, explaining the transliterations. Unlike a translation which tell you the meaning, a translation only gives you an idea of it. Let's see what this is. I'm gonna play some of this video too as well for you guys. My main man, Jeff A. Brenner. Jeff A. Brenner. Salakia. 1 second. Okay, let me play just some of this real quick. Okay, watch this, y'all.
Words in the New Testament. You know what? There are. But you know what? There's a whole lot more Hebrew words in the New Testament. Here's some examples of Hebrew.
Now, this is Jeff A. Brenner, Hebrew linguistic scholar. He did a video proving that the New Testament has Semitic origins, meaning it's predominantly written in Hebrew. It was predominantly written in Hebrew. So maybe y'all who don't believe the typical punk black, you'll go watch the white man break it down. But he didn't go all the way deep off into it. But watch what he says here. Watch what he says here.
That are translated in the Greek and your English Bibles. You'll recognize all of these. Hallelujah. That's a Hebrew word. Amen. That's Hebrew. Korban. Y'all heard that word? Yeshua was talking about the Pharisees. They're offering their korban. That's a Hebrew word. It's found in the Tanakh. Rabbi. Rabbi. What does rabbi mean? More than just teacher. My teacher. Rav means teacher, great one, literally, great one. Somebody said that over there. But if you want to say my something, like hand is yad. Here, a little Hebrew lesson for you. This will show you how simple Hebrew is. It's really not a difficult language. Yad. Everybody say that. Very good. My hand, yadi.
So you see that? You'll see that, right? Look at rabbi. And then the Greek, this will be it in the Greek. It'll sound like rabbi. So you have all these Hebrew words transliterated into the Greek and English text, right?
You put an E at the end of it, yadi. His hand, yado. There you go, your first Hebrew lesson. My hand is yadi. If I want to say my great one, my teacher, it would be Rabbi. Rabbi, which we say rabbi. Raka. Yeshua said in Matthew 5 that if you even call your brother Raka, that's a Hebrew word. Over here on the right-hand side, let's take a look at that. Raka, there it is in Greek. As you find in the Greek text, it's Strong's number 4860.
Now look at this. Now look at this. Now look at this. Raka means full, right? But look at this. In the Hebrew, it'll be rayak or raka. And so the transliteration you see in the Greek right here, it says raka. Now, in the English, it's raka. That's how it's rendered. So you see these transliterations of these pronunciations of the Hebrew, right? But it's not sound linguistics because they're only supposed to do that with proper nouns, right? So let's continue. Let's continue here. Salakia. Okay, so moving on to the next portion. When Christ spoke on the cross, we was just mentioning in Matthew 27. We were just talking about this in Matthew 27. Remember, they say Hebrew was not the common language, and only educated Jews could understand Hebrew. Let's take a look at Matthew 27, 46 to 47, right? And you'll see regular bystanders, they understood what he was speaking on the cross. How could it be only educated Hebrews understanding the language if regular bystanders understood what he was saying on the cross? Well, let's prove that. Matthew 27 and 46. Now look what it says. And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice. Oh, for those of you brothers and sisters who speak the Paleo Hebrew, the Lashawan Kodash, you guys are going to love this point right here. You know how they say we have a made-up Hebrew dialect when we say Shalom or Yahweh? They say we have a made-up Hebrew dialect, right? Watch this. And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. Now, they say this is Aramaic. When they're translating the Greek, because we already proved Matthew was written in Greek 1000%. I bet everything in my bank account on that. Nobody can disprove that. We already quote so many sources. There's even some Matthew Hebrew from antiquity. Now, they're trying to say that Christ was on the cross speaking Aramaic. So what this proves is whoever was translating Matthew into Greek was probably more familiar with Aramaic instead of Hebrew. But let me tell you why this is going to prove to be untrue. This is going to prove to be untrue. Watch this. So they're saying he's speaking Aramaic here. This is Aramaic. That is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Now watch this, y'all. Either way, he's not speaking Greek, for one. But we know he wasn't speaking Aramaic either. I'm going to tell you why. Some of them that stood there, when they heard it, they said, this man called it for Elias. What does this prove, brothers and sisters? I don't even need you to drop a bomb. I already dropped a bomb when I was doing my research, and I couldn't sleep when I found some of this stuff out. This proves that bystanders were familiar with Hebrew. Even if you want to say it was Aramaic, bystanders were familiar with the Hebrew dialect of Aramaic. You're saying only educated people could understand and speak that Hebrew dialects, right? For two, this proves that he was speaking Hebrew, because they thought he was calling on Elijah. But he said, Eli, Eli, meaning my God, my God. How do you say Elijah in Aramaic? Eliyahu. Eliyahu. Whoo. I don't think you guys know how deep that is. They're thinking he's calling for Elijah. If he was calling for Elijah, he would have said, and if it was Aramaic, he would have said Eliyahu, Eliyahu. This proves that Christ was speaking the Paleo-Hebrew, what we call the Lashuan Quadash, because the only sound that is close to Elijah would be how we say Elijah and how we say my God in what we call the Lashuan Quadash. The way you say my God in the Lashuan Quadash is Alaya. The way you say Elijah in the Lashuan Quadash is very similar, Alaya. So for all you guys, oh, you guys speak a fake Hebrew. You speak a fake Hebrew. The only way that these people could have mistaken him for calling him on Elijah is if he spoke what we call today the Lashuan Quadash, aka the Paleo Hebrew. You guys are finito, finished. He couldn't have been speaking Aramaic. He couldn't have been speaking Greek. He couldn't be speaking modern day Hebrew. He could only be speaking ancient Lashuan Quadash in order for them to think that he's calling on Elijah. Get the hell out of here. Textual proof. Textual proof. Right? So let's continue. Let's continue. Let's continue. Now, here goes the bomb. I need you guys to put your seatbelt. I really want a Christian to listen to this and tell me, why would Peter be calling Jesus Christ Satan or a Greek god? Now, Greek mythology came to be about 800 or 900 years before Christ even existed. 800 to 900 years. Homer existed. Homer was alive about what, 800 BC? Let's type that in. Homer, one of the pioneers for Greek mythology. Homer, Greek mythology. Let's see if my memory serves me correct. Homer. Who was Homer? Okay, between the 12th and 8th century BC. This is one of the main vehicles for Greek mythology. So you got Greek mythology flourishing 1,000 years before Christ even existed. I want you guys to understand that, right? I want you to understand that clear, because we're going somewhere with this. Now, if the New Testament is written in Greek and Christ and the apostles are speaking in Greek, then what's going on is they are perpetuating and teaching Greek mythology and idolatry. I'm going to say that again. If they were speaking in Greek and writing in Greek, then they are perpetuating and propagating Greek mythology and idolatry. This is a fact. Watch this. If Jesus and the disciples are speaking Greek and writing the scriptures in Greek, they would have been teaching Greek mythology and idolatry. Let's go to the first point. Let's go to the first point. 2 Peter 1:19. You guys don't bug out. It's okay. This is going to make you understand that the New Testament was compiled in Hebrew, or we have Christ and the leader of the head of the church, the rock, Peter, saying that Christ is a Greek God, teaching idolatry and Greek deities. And watch this. 2 Peter 1:19. We have also a more sure word of prophecy, whereunto you dwell, that ye take heed, as unto a light that shineth in a dark place, until the day dawn and the day star arise in your hearts. The day star arise in your hearts. Why is Peter saying, okay, so Peter is calling Christ the day star. That's going to arise in your heart. Let's take a look at all praises, heart to victor, all praises. I'm going to have to get in on that. Now watch this. Look at this word for day star. Now, a lot of Hebrew Israelite, you niggas is Christians anyway. I'm just going to be real. A lot of you guys worship. I ain't even going to talk about it, right? A lot of Hebrew Israelites going to get mad at me. They're supposed to be Hebrew Israelites. Niggas don't know how their texts were compiled. Now, look at the day star. Look at the day star. So here we have Peter calling the Messiah the day star. What is the day star? The Greek word phosphorus. The Greek word phosphorus. Now look at this, y'all. Let's take a look. Phosphorus. This is what it means. Why is Peter calling Christ phosphorus? Do any of you guys even know what phosphorus is? Oh, okay. Let's take a look at it. Phosphorus. Boom. Phosphorus is one of the astroplanet, specifically the god of the planet Venus. Why is Peter, and again, he's been the god of the planet Venus for almost 1,000 years before Christ even existed. So everybody around the world back then would be like, why is he calling this Jewish Messiah a Greek god of the planet Venus? Hello? You guys are not ready for this type of shit. And I'm talking to you Christians who lie and say Jesus was speaking Greek and the New Testament was written in Greek and the common language of the time for them was Greek. You guys are not ready. I got a lot more, and I'm only going to give a little bit here just in case somebody want to debate this. I got a lot more cards I haven't even brought out. So why in the hell would Peter be saying until this god of the planet Venus arise in your heart with the application towards the Messiah? Now, what the other nations did was, we understood what a morning star was. It just means a bright star. But what these other nations did were, centuries before Christ even existed, they took the planetary stars and they personified and deified. What does that mean? The Hebrew Israelites, we say morning star. Okay, but we don't personify, make an image of it, and deify it, make it a god. Because you do have us saying the morning star. There's nothing wrong with that. Where it becomes idolatry is when you personify that star and deify it. In the which that's what the Greeks did. Now look at this, y'all. Let's go right here. Look at this. Okay, here we go. Now look at this. The Latin word, here it goes. Here goes the mic drop. The Latin word phosphorus is Lucifer. Hello? The Latin word corresponding to the Greek word phosphorus is Lucifer. So the way you say morning star in the Greek would be phosphorus. The way you say morning star in Latin would be Lucifer. The way you say morning star in Hebrew would be Hayalel. There's nothing wrong with saying that until you do like the Latin and the Greek and personify it and deify it. So Peter's saying until Lucifer, now this is before Lucifer, the term Lucifer was applied and attached to Satan. Before that, the whole known world back then knew it was talking about a Greek god of the planet Venus, personified and deified. So you mean to tell me that the New Testament was written in Greek and Peter, a major Hebrew Israelite who was forcing the law on the Gentiles in Galatians chapter 2, he's going to sit up here and say, until phosphorus arise in you. This is what he's saying in Greek, my nigga. He's saying in Greek, until Christ, who's also Lucifer and phosphorus, arise in your heart. Get the hell out of here. You guys get what I'm saying? How do you say it in Spanish? Lucero. The way you say morning star in Spanish would be Lucero, which is how you say Lucifer in Latin, right? So, the water brother for the super chat donation, greatly appreciate you, King. Right? Now, let's get more examples. So if Peter is writing in Greek, he's calling Christ phosphorus, which is also known as Lucifer, which was a Greek deity, a Greek god of the planet Venus that was worshipped and believed upon centuries before Christ. So this is why I'm telling you guys, the reason why they translated the Hebrew New Testament in Greek is to add Greek mythology and idolatry and paganism so the Gentiles can accept the Christianity, the Christian faith, and they could further their cultish religion. I got the source to prove that. Let's keep going. All right. So, personified and deified as God for is applied to Satan. All right, now Hades. Here we have Hades. What is Hades? The name Hades or Pluto, the god of the lower regions. Now, Hades is a god. Hades is a god according to biblical definition and Greek definition. Hades is a god. So you mean to tell me Christ is speaking right here in Matthew 11:23. And he says, and thou, Capernaum, which are exalted unto heaven, shall be brought down to Hades. So you Christians believe in monotheism, right? There's only one God. This is what you Christians believe. And you Jewish folk, you believe in monotheism, right? Okay, fine, whatever. Then why is Christ saying Capernaum finna go down to this Greek God? Hello? So Christ teaching that there's a Greek God that people are going to go to if they're bad. That's idolatry. Belief in it and worshiping it. That's idolatry. Imagine that. Christ saying, if you be bad and you commit sin, I'm going to send you down to this Greek god. His name is Hades. He's the god of the lower regions. He's the god of the underworld. This is why I say they only did this to influence the New Testament with Greek mythology and idolatry and paganism so that the pagans surrounding that known world over there will receive and they could appeal to the people to grow that cult known as Christianity. Imagine a pagan reading the Greek New Testament like, damn, okay, it's talking about Hades. It's talking about Lucifer and Phosphorus. It's talking about Tartarus. It's talking about the Greek god Nike. It's talking about the Greek god Dolo. We can get jiggy with this. We already are familiar with this, right? So let's keep going. Let's keep going. So let's look at Hades, right? From Britannica, Britannica.com, Britannica.com, and look what it says. Hades, also called Pluto or wealthy, ancient Greek religion, god of the underworld. Hades was the son of Titus Kronos and Rhea, and the brother of the deities Zeus, Poseidon, Demeter, Hera, and Hestia. What makes an idol an idol? If an idol is worshipped, that makes it an idol. That makes it idolatry. So Christ telling everybody if they sin, they go into Titus's son, Hades. Man, I'm so glad I'm out of Christianity. Just get a most. Thank you, Most High God, for saving me from that white supremacist cult known as Christianity, full of paganism and idolatry, right? So let's continue. Let's continue here. All right, Tartarus. Who knows what Tartarus is? I'm not talking about when you nasty Hebrew Israelites don't brush your teeth. That's a different type of Tartarus, okay? This Tartarus is used in the Bible. And let's go to it. This is Strong's G 50 and 20. And it says Tartaru. Now watch this, y'all. Tartaru, the name. Let's go to the Bible verse first. For if 2 Peter 2 and 4. 2 Peter 2 and 4. For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell. So let's see what Tartarus is. This is Peter again. And look at this, right? The name of the subterranean region, doleful and dark, regarded by the ancient Greeks as the abode of the wicked dead, where they suffer punishments for their evil deeds. Thrust down to Tartarus, hold captive, right? To torment and hell. Now look at this, right? Wicked dead again. Tartarus. Now let me pull up something real quick, right? Let's take a look at again Britannica.com. Let's see what the Tartarus is. Let's see what the Tartarus is. John Williams says, where's the smoke? John Williams, what would you like to talk about? Tartarus, the infernal regions of ancient Greek mythology. Here we have Peter again writing about Greek mythology. Allegedly, which is a goddamn lie. The name was originally used for the deepest region of the underworld. So now there's multiple underworlds, according to the Lord, who the Lord chose to be the head of the church, Peter. There's multiple underworlds now. Huh? No. The lower of the two parts of the underworld, where the gods locked up their enemies, where the gods locked up their enemies. This is a fabrication of your imagination. A fabrication of your imagination. It gradually came to mean the entire underworld. As such, it was the opposite for the Elysium, where happy souls lived after death. In some accounts, Tartarus was one of the personified elements of the world, along with Gaia, the earth, and others. According to those accounts, Tartarus and Gaia produced the monster Typhon. Compare Hades. So, another Greek god who made it with Gaia, their cohort Gaia, and created a monster Typhon, and is part of one of the many underworlds, the lowest region of the underworld. Excuse me? That is Greek mythology and idolatry. Let's continue. The Greek god Nike. The Greek goddess Nike. Now, we all knew Nike goes back to a Greek goddess. We all knew Nike goes back to a Greek goddess, right? So look at this word. It's in the Bible. It's in the Greek New Testament, rather. This word Nike. Now, would some Hebrew Israelites would have put this in here, just like they wouldn't have put Tartarus. They wouldn't have said Tartarus, you go to Tartarus. They wouldn't have said you go to the Greek god Hades. They wouldn't have called Christ Lucifer. But when you translate it from the Hebrew to the Greek, you're going to get that Greek mythology on purpose and by design. So now here's the Greek god Nike right here in the Greek New Testament. And look what it says, right? It's right here in 1 John 5:4. For whatsoever is born of God overcometh the world, and this is the victory that overcometh the world, even our faith. So here we have the Apostle John saying, this Greek god Nike helps you to overcome the world. Hello? Excuse me? This is it. Nike. Let's hear it.
Strong's G 3529. Nike. Nike.
Nike, Nike, tomato, right? It means victory, and that's what it's being used as. That is ridiculous, y'all. Some actual Hebrew Israelites who Christians will say are monotheists are speaking and uttering the names of so many Greek deities and Greek idols and Greek gods. Now look what it says. Salakia, what the hell? My bad. Let's get that just for the link, just for the link's sake. Nike, Greek goddess. Nike in ancient Greek religion, the goddess of victory, daughter of the giant Pallas, of the infernal of the river Styx. Okay. It's a Greek goddess. Understand? Let's continue. The Greek god Dolos. Now there's a Greek god Dolos. Now watch this. Here's the Apostle Paul in, not even the Apostle Paul. Look at this. And consulted that they might take Jesus by subtlety, thieves, covetous, wicked, deceit. Let's go to 2 Corinthians. Look at this. Look at this in 2 Corinthians 12:16. Watch what he says. But being so, I did not burden you. Nevertheless, being crafty, I caught you with guile. Why is Paul saying he's catching people with guile? Well, this is the Greek word dolos. So any Greek during that time or Hebrew that was familiar with Greek mythology, they would say, why is Paul saying he's catching people with this Greek god? This is the word dolos. Let's see what dolos is in Greek mythology. Dolos in Greek mythology is the spirit of trickery and deception. He is also a master at cunning deception. Can we just stop here? Can we just stop? Our Lord and Savior and the apostles were not going around spreading and perpetuating Greek deities, Greek idols, and Greek mythology and Greek philosophy. Now you got Paul saying he's catching people with the help of this goddamn god in Greek mythology named Dolos, who's the master of trickery and deception. Hello? Let's stop playing here. The New Testament was written in Hebrew, period. Now, conclusion. We're finally at the conclusion. Let me wrap this up here in the spirit. Conclusion. Why did they translate it from Hebrew to Greek? To spread the religion of Christianity. But their target audience were pagans, because majority of the world at that time were. So they, for one, had to introduce the scriptures in Greek due to the lingua franca, wanting to spread it. But for two, the most important part is to mix paganism with Christianity so that pagans could relate. Not just Greek mythology and Greek gods all in the Greek New Testament, but them adding Easter to Christian tenets, virgin birth, Christmas, so on, to make the heathens want to accept that religion. Not all the Greek mythology as we've seen, but the likes of Christmas, Easter, virgin birth, pagan holidays, and so on. Now let's take a look at this source just to corroborate. And of course, along with being anti-Semitic, that's why. But let's corroborate my statement here. This source is from history.com, and I'm gonna pull it up as well. It says the Christian church created a need. Strangely enough, Christianity did not succeed in taking over the ancient world simply by addressing deeply sensed needs of the target audience. This, excuse me, Salakia. The pagan adherents of traditional polytheistic religions. Let me say that again for you slow folk. The pagan adherents of traditional polytheistic religion. So what does that mean? They're trying to appeal to people to convert who believe in polytheism, many gods. By and large, they're practicing Greek mythology. So there was a need to translate the New Testament Hebrew to Greek. On the contrary, it actually created a need that almost no one knew they had. Everyone in their ancient world, except for Jews, was pagan. This is a quote from this source that I'm about to get. That is, they believed in many gods. These gods, whether the state gods of Rome, the local municipal gods, the family gods, the gods of the forest, mountains, streams, metals, were active in the world, involved with humans on an everyday level. They ensured that the crops would grow and livestock would produce. This is what they believe that their gods would bless them and grant them with, right? They brought rain and protected against storms. They warded off diseases and sick, held in the main temperature, right? So this is the source where it talks about, this is history.com, and I believe Bart Ehrman, who Christians would agree is a New Testament scholar, he is given the explanation why Christians spread the gospel, translated things of that nature, and also their philosophies and paganist, the paganist mixture of Christianity is trying to. He explains why they translated it, why they mix paganistic heathen customs into Christianity, and that is to convert the pagan Gentiles in the surrounding area. So that is why the New Testament was translated from Hebrew to Greek, as we've seen. All right. So we are going to put this in book format through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, because it's just too heavy of a presentation. It's too scholarly of a presentation, and it's too much of a Christianity, a blow to Christianity, debunking that false religion. Understand? So with that being said, I want to do something real quick. And I want to let me share this real quick. All right. So let me share my screen. Now, I usually go from Okay, look, I don't, whatever, man. Listen, anybody in the comments, if you really want some smoke, hit me up at sakariseattle@gmail.com. Hit me up at sakariseattle@gmail.com, and you can get what you want. You can get what you're asking for. I have no problem. There's so many bodies under our belts. It's nothing new. A lot of the guys making comments, I guarantee you they don't teach. They don't have a YouTube page. They're looking to get their ass whooped and get glory off of that. So email me at sakariseattle@gmail.com. If you're not willing to get in the ring, then refrain from spamming in the comment section. Now, I'm going to plug this video because I have reached my time. I barely made it, y'all. Barely made it. So it's time to pass it on to Alazar and Hassad to continue the Sakari Flux Friday. They're going into the so-called rapture doctrine. So I am going to McKnight, watch the video, bro. Like, just go back and watch the video, McKnight. Go back and watch the video. Then try to debunk it. Do a video debunking it. Because at this point, you act like you're finna come in this chat and gain some followers. Like, people are gonna want you, the great master teacher who hasn't even put a brick in. You got the right way. Matter of fact, McKnight, tell everybody your YouTube channel. You said we're all wrong. We're all wrong. Save our souls. Make a YouTube channel and start teaching the truth as you see it. Save all of our souls, and let's see how well that works for you. So anyway, I got the link in the chat for Hassad and Alazar. They're about to go in through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. I'm going to say all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shem Yahushai for revealing that information in this presentation and the scholarship and the understanding and illuminating our understanding and giving us the revelation to understand our records and our heritage and how we got our book today. So with that, I'm going to say peace and blessings. Love y'all. Till next time. Shalom.